Hello, Mayors. How are you all doing? I hope you're well. We're here to start another episode of Barboza Cities. If you like this series, please leave a like right at the start of the video and also check whether you're subscribed, because you might be watching and enjoying the videos here, but you're not subscribed. Well, in the last episode, we made this coastline here, which really added a lot to our city. It turned out really great. The composition here is very pleasant. And man, I walked around here several times with this aerial camera, seeing how well this coastline was incorporated into the rest of the city. I really want to know your opinion too, in case you haven't commented on the last episode, okay? Well, we need to continue the expansion here on this island and keep going. I continued the expansion in this time-lapse. Well, this beach here is actually the last beach left, right? It's a part where we even have the block layout drawn, but nothing has been built yet. That's why I went ahead and started building and zoning within these blocks, so we can also have a very dense urban and agricultural composition, just like we've been doing in this series since the very first episode, right? Whenever I'm building, I'm careful with the zoning, what type of zoning I'm going to use, which building will go up, the style I'm going to use, and also with the zoning grid itself. Sometimes it's facing one street and I want it to face another. Sometimes it gets too long. It messes up the zoning of the street behind the block. And then I use, as you can see in the time lapse, the pedestrian paths, or I deactivate the zoning on one street and activate it on another. All of this is to try to get around these annoying little inconveniences that the game brings us. Unfortunately, right, it's not possible to make it denser the way I would like, which would be taking advantage of all the little spaces here inside the blocks, right? I like this kind of really dense zoning where no space is wasted and everything has a purpose here in the neighborhood, in the city anyway. Right, that the zoning gets broken up and then there are empty spaces between one building and another. And then I try to put I'm getting really good at this. I try to put something there. Usually it's a park, usually it's a square. I keep changing it up, right? Sometimes I put a bike parking lot there. Sometimes I put low vegetation. Sometimes I put tall vegetation. All of this is to fill that space and not just leave it as empty grass, which I think gives our city an unprofessional look. We've really prioritized aesthetics here. To talk a little bit about zoning, what I'm zoning here in this part of the island's coast will be very close to the beach, right? It's right between downtown and the beach. I like to use those high-density Californian buildings on the coast, from the southwestern United States. I think they look really nice even at level 1, and they match this beach vibe a lot. After the time lapse, I'll show you guys. But since we're going all the way to the edge of the island here, we've already done our westernmost point. Now we're reaching the easternmost point. I'm also lowering the density a bit and placing these Californian buildings along the coast. However, instead of high density, I'm using medium density. In the middle of the blocks, I've also been placing Japanese buildings. The Japanese style buildings we have here in the game. Even though there are only a few, I like to place them to remind us that this is an island inspired by Japan and also by other countries from East Asia, right? Here we also have quite a few public buildings. We have a university here and so on. And I also tried to integrate these buildings, these residential buildings, with the structures that were already here. And so that one thing wouldn't overshadow the other, So I was also concerned about that issue. And if you're not following, I'll walk you through everything nice and slowly now at the end of the time lapse. Well, let's get closer here and show you, right? Basically what I did, was from this avenue over this way, okay, here on the coast. So look at how things are here, right? I even forgot to zone here to detail this part. This part of this block here was left without zoning. But that's okay, I'll do it live here with you. For example, here you can put a triangular plaza. I'll put a triangular plaza with a texture here. You can put a small fountain here, look, with some benches. A food truck, 2 carts, right? We want competition. Also some little tables here, look, with some chairs. Then here, look, in these spaces, I usually also put low vegetation. Some medium vegetation here too, look. And I also like to put tall vegetation, see? And then we've already filled up this part, right? It doesn't stay completely empty. And here, look, I've already added a bike rack here too. Here's another bike rack. You can also have some trees next to it. I also vary the type of tree, right? So it doesn't have just one theme. Look, here in the center of this block, you can also put something here like a landscaping feature, even though the shade doesn't let us see very well, right? But it's there, so you can see it. It's work that requires patience, right? Very detailed. But if I'm having a good day, right, it even works as therapy. And look how it is, right? Here's the difference, see? It's much better. And man, I'm gonna walk you through all the details nice and slowly, okay? Here we have a hospital. You can see there are ambulances parked here. Here we have a car parking lot. Here, look, some offices too in the Karen Folian style, right? Here it even looks like a business, right? A bar, a karaoke place. But here, if I'm not mistaken, it's an office. Over here we have a large bike parking area, right? It's already half full. It's because there's a bike lane here, right? By the beach. Sometimes people really sell bikes. Look here, see? I put a little plaza here. Oops. A little square, see? With vegetation. Here, man. These are the offices that came in the last content creator, right? This one, look, evolution offices. I ended up putting it here. It actually looks pretty nice, right? There's no flat wall here, so it even added something to the corner. And how I integrated this building here, look. Here we have an office building, which is one of the signature buildings in the game, okay? I even placed another signature building here as well from Eastern Europe, right, to make up this other corner. And I'll show you how I integrated it, okay? Take a look. Here I was working on the texture, right? On the ground texturing to make it look like this, see? To complement this path here, we also have, look, a path that comes out from this side. So what did I do? Basically, I just extended it, see? This texture, it only came up to here, right? I extended it over here. I didn't zone this area as if this were really a side entrance here, see? For this building, right? Because the idea of this signature building here, it's that it was an old building, right? This one is an old building that got a new addition here, right? It was modernized. So to preserve a view of it here, see, I ended up not zoning this part. I put in a few little plazas, added some vegetation here, and I did the same thing in the back, okay? The building actually only goes up to here. Then I extended this texture outwards, right, with the pathways. I did some landscaping with these taller trees, right? Really slender ones on the side. I put a fountain over there, some benches, a gazebo. For what? Also to preserve, look, this facade of this more historic building. Facing the sea, right? Facing the beach. And it turned out really nice. Here in the corner, I put a parking lot. More office space. Oops, here, look, here the texture came off. I don't like to keep extending the building textures because it ends up coming off between one game restart and another. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I have. So what have I been doing? I prefer placing it manually like this. See? Look, over here, square, park. Pathway, right? To fill in the inside of the block. I left space here between the two buildings. These here are the Californian buildings I mentioned, see? They're right in a row. And I think they really match the beach vibe, right? Here in the back as well, look, I zoned with the Japanese buildings, right? With Japanese zoning, right? This part is medium density residential. Over here too, see? And we went, see, filling in this whole interior of the block as well. Here, man, I ended up placing Chinese buildings, okay? High density. As you can see in the demand bars, we have a lot of residential demand, right? The commercial hasn't grown for a while. We also zeroed out the office demand. So I ended up placing high-density Chinese buildings here. This big one. It's still at level 2. I think it's going to look nicer. Because I thought it was pretty ugly. It's an American high-density building, right? We hope it gets nicer. Here in the back, there are some Japanese ones too. Look at that, right? These Japanese ones are really cute. And then we get, look, this kind of view, right? With the little alleys. There's something here I want to talk to you about. It's this tower. This tower here is a landmark. Okay, a landmark that comes here in the Chinese pack. But here, it's kind of hidden, right? I don't know. I'm thinking about changing it because we have buildings here that are much taller than this tower. What I'm thinking about doing is this. I think I'm just going to make just this part here beachfront, okay? And from here on, it won't be beachfront. Wow. And this? Wow. And this accident here? Man, sometimes the game, I don't know what happens. When the city is small, it doesn't have a lot of this craziness. But once it goes over 100,000, man, the game, I don't know. It freaks out, you know? Look at that. Right? Everyone's involved in an accident here. Things are bad. But anyway, from here to here, I'm thinking about building a port, okay? We already have a port in our historic village here. And I would build another port here, so that people can come straight here to the Asian island. So I'm going to start smoothing the terrain here. I'll continue in a moment.
Mostrando aqui para vocês o zoneamento.
But I'm going to smooth out the ground to make it really smooth. Right, just like we did here on this other beach. Look how nice it is. Right, really smooth. I'm going to do this on this side too. We're going to work a lot on this land reclamation. And over here too, okay. And now I'm going to start drawing the layout of the port here. I'm going to make a pier here, an extension over here. Exactly, so we can end up placing this tower. Okay, so it's going to be the division between the beach and the port. And I think I'm going to do it roughly like this. From this path here, we can observe in our Japanese university that it only goes up to here. And I ended up placing some low-rise buildings here. These buildings are also in the Californian style. However, they are medium density. They're not high density like this one here. Why low-rise buildings? First, because we have a university here, which is quite monumental, let's say. And I didn't want to end up blocking its view of the sea either. Besides all that, these buildings here, they actually look quite a lot like the style here at the university. Not exactly, but they don't clash either. That's important. Here I ended up not zoning. I pulled the texture of this path all the way down here to make it look like it's just one path. And it turned out like this. A big block here is occupied, and it looks really cool. Now I'm going to extend this area toward the land, extending toward the sea with land. From this part here, from here to here, I think up to here. This parking street, because we also don't cover the path here coming from the university. I believe if we extend it from here, it ends up being very useful. Let me see roughly what the size is here of this tower, because it has to fit here. I think I'll extend it up to here, and then I'll pull it back to here. I think that tower will fit here. Well, we already have reclaimed land, and now we need to reclaim land for the port. Well, and there's no way around it with this port area. It has to be straight. So I'm going to try to make things straight here, exactly to accommodate this gigantic structure here, which is part of the port. I think I'll have to move it a little more this way because of this maneuvering area here. And it's going to destroy this part of the reef. It's actually good that we left the beach only over here, because this part of the reef here will end up getting deeper. Let's go ahead and draw the streets. I'm going to draw a street from here down to here, and then take it over, I think up to here. This little alley here is one way. All right, we get a part of the reclaimed land here to place this western observation tower, and we made a space even bigger than necessary. But that's okay, we can make a parking lot here. And here it stands out more. It has a better spot here with a view of the beach and everything. It wouldn't be nice to have it hidden here. Let's continue the extension of this parking lot over here. And now I'm going to work on this area here, the port area. We've already seen that there's no other way. We're going to have to fill in this area all the way to the end so we can put the port right in the center here. And I'm also going to build a road to give access to this new port. I think it's great here. All right. I think I'll need to extend it a bit here too. Even if this becomes a dead-end street, this extra extension will give us some buffer space to place the port around here. That's it. Exactly as I said. If it were just up to here, it would end up being way too close. But that's okay. There. Done. Here we gained a lot of depth. I'll have to fix this here because visually it looks weird. But basically it's about taking this part here, this height here, and applying it until it meets the natural altitude here at the reef. Up to here, so I'll apply everything. So we can create at least some naturalness in all this artificiality here. When it's not possible to reach the natural altitude, I at least try, following a bit of this terrain here until I can meet the altitude here at the bottom of the ocean. Here near the port, there's no way. I'll have to remove everything, I think here too. And then after where it got really weird, you just come here to the smoothing tool and smooth it out. Blend one thing into the other and make it smoother, as smooth as possible. On this other side here too. I don't want to ruin the beach, but that's okay. I think now it's a bit better. Better than that big hole here. Turning this into a dock here is good. It's good because logistically, it's really close to the station. I think it'll be fine. Now I'll make an exit. Grab here and buy these squares. Because I need to connect the route here, from outside to here, the port, right. And besides creating the route, I have to make its connection here too. Going back and forth. And all this for what, guys? We're having a really hard time. Accommodating all our residents. How many citizens do we have here? 52,000 inhabitants for comparison. Here I think it went over. It even went over. We have 49, and people keep arriving, man. It's not now, but sometimes this gets stuck. And
Às vezes trava. Isso aqui.
intersection here, they never used it much. But the other two get really stuck. Here, you can only enter. It's a real jam, and I'm still gonna do something about it. I even tried to leave this street here just for people who are going to cross to the other side, to cross these two roads here. And I even put in a pedestrian crossing to keep cars from passing through here and getting in the way of people, and the people who are coming in. I put it in as well. This alley here, it's just for exiting, so he just exits. So if the guy wants to turn right here, he can't do it here. He has to exit earlier. And exit through here. Anyway, all this is to try to fix this here, but it's not working. I don't know why people don't come in through here. They don't leave it for... I don't know. Come around the outside and enter here. But anyway, maybe it's too out of the way for them. But it's another alternative for people arriving by passenger ship. Here I ended up putting some offices with parking. Here we have a citizen service center that's located here. I ended up zoning this area for offices. Right on this curve here on the avenue, I've already added some trees to it here as well. And here we have a large esplanade. I don't even know what I'm going to do in this area. If you have any ideas about what to do with this space, please comment. Also, here in this block, I don't intend to zone it. I think I'm going to create a park. Look, we have one of the entrances here coming straight from the street. The other entrance, I think I'll connect it here, but only with a path like this. Then I'll make some secondary paths, really random, just to be like that.
Uns caminhos do desejo, sabe? Colocar umas texturinhas também, né? Coloquei uma grama diferente.
Pockets in the middle. And also so we can add some vegetation here in the leftover spaces and the detailing. Look how cool we can put one of these here. These pavilion roofs here, we can put one here. Let me see. Here it will be too big, it won't fit. Here too, I think it looks a bit out of proportion. Look, I'll put one right here. All right. And then some playground equipment here for the kids. Some benches here for the parents to keep an eye on the kids and have a picnic too, right? I think this would be a really nice space to have a snack, drink a beer. Yeah, it turned out nice here. I like this space. Good. Now we need to fill in this area around here to make it really cool. Let's start here with this block. Extending this path here all the way to the sidewalk on the other side too, because it gives the impression of two entrances, one in the front and one back here. I'll add some more vegetation here as well to make it look like it's a continuation, right? It's not, but just to make it look that way, here you can zone it. Well, there's no zoning here because the zoning on this street is getting in the way. So I'm going to put a path here to block this zoning and allow the zoning to come from the street. This is the kind of thing I keep doing in the time lapses.
Vou colocar um japonês aqui de média densidade. Ah, ótimo. Aqui não, né? Aqui a gente vai acabar fechando esse caminho.
Done. So I need to remove this zoning from here. All right, while things are growing here, I'm going to work on this block now. All right, look, it already grew here, these ones. Little apartments. It turned out really nice, right? There are some buildings here, but they're pretty low, right? The buildings in this area. And that's okay because it's not downtown, right? Our downtown is here, which already has a lot of tall buildings. I thought it was cool. It's not a suburb like over here on the other side, because here, man, it gets really far from the center, right? So it's really suburban. But even so, it's still a busy area and all, and I liked this height limit here. So I was taking a look at this here, and to be honest with you, I'm thinking about doing something out of the ordinary. You know why? It's not happening here right now, like having a huge line and all. And not here either. Look, sometimes, man, this place turns into hell on earth. I won't be able to show you an example in this episode, but you'll remember from other episodes when this happened. What I'm thinking about doing is creating a new entrance to the city from here. Okay? Just an entrance, no exit, so it doesn't get too complicated. Because the problem is getting into the city. The exits are fine. And why here? First, because this is a main street, right? It goes all along our coastline, man, all the way down here. So it distributes the traffic well. And also, look, we have a connection here that lets us create a way into the city from this highway. But for this to work, I would have to leave at least this stretch here, you see, open. One way, on this side of the park, see? And then it would be like this, right? This street here goes, and this one comes back. So around the park, it would work almost like a roundabout circuit. And here it becomes two-way again. So whoever is here has to turn left and exit here to continue on this street. Because it's here that I'm going to create the entry point, right? Our new entry point into the city. We have a substation here. Maybe I can even do it. Readjust it over here. No, this is an important point, where the electricity arrives on the island. And now, right, I'll have to make the arrival here. Yeah, I'm thinking about coming and putting a little elevation here so I can build a bridge here, parallel with a train track. Route this entry through here. Look at this, it's actually pretty nice. We'll handle this arrival here later. The big issue comes after, right? I'm gonna make the arrival here now. I'm thinking about using this part of the road as a connection, because it's a pretty dead area here. Okay, there's not much traffic, so maybe it might work out. I'm going to step back a little from this path here. It's a path that already came with the map, right? I'm going to take advantage of the fact that we already have a roundabout here and work on this other end of it. But if I can do something here, I'll move this back. Okay, and I'm going to bring this end straight over here. Look, it would be a curve here to connect to this side of the roundabout because we're going to gain this end here to bring that road through here. I just need to figure out where I'm going to make this crossing. I'll even turn on the topography here so we can see, because the map can be deceiving, okay? It seems flat, but it's not. See, there are some ravines here. Where would be the best place to cross? Man, I think here, look, because there's a hill here and another hill here. We would go right in the middle. But the distance would be too great. Or we could even use the altitude of this hill here to make this crossing too, and then, look, it would go more or less through here. But it got bugged. I have to turn this into an overpass. All right, good. That's great. Here, we took advantage of the elevation of the road to build this bridge. And now, we just need to connect this here to there, and that's it. New entrance? Look, connected. Actually, I put exit, but it's an entrance. It has to go this way, look. All right, look, it's coming here in this layout. I think we can even make it easier for the people here to exit through this ramp here and enter here. I wonder if we could do something like that. Actually, it would be on this ramp here. Then people ask why I'm using anarchy mode. Because these intersections that came with the map, I can't do anything with them. So I have to turn on anarchy mode to make it work. But here, look, we would have to open a new lane right here on this ramp. Okay, and from here, make a connection over here. Look, see? I already avoid making the guy go all the way around down there. If he wants, he can exit here. And I even added 3 lanes here too, to make it easier for people arriving here. For the guys. And then, look, up ahead, we're going to handle the entrance here on the island in a way that's even more complicated than just connecting it here, okay? And look, here's the thing. We're going to have an entrance here, we're going to have an entrance here, but we're also going to have an entrance here, look, on this avenue, right along this axis, okay? Because this avenue is really busy here. right? Because here is the entrance and exit and all, there's a park. But from this intersection over here, it's a dead avenue because it doesn't connect to anything except this coastal road, you know? So I want to give a purpose to this end as well as an entrance to the island, right? Besides this other end of the avenue. So I would do an excavation here, okay? An expressway would come out here, like I said. So as not to make the project too complicated, it's just for incoming traffic, right? For leaving, people have to use the traditional exits, right? Because arrivals are complicated. Arrivals get a bit stuck, you see? Right now, it's fine, man. It's all good. Right now, it's not really justifying the project I'm doing, but when I'm playing off camera, I know what I'm talking about, and we're already finishing up the island, man. So, yeah, just these final little details so I don't have to come back here and keep fixing traffic problems. And then this second lane, look, there are already people arriving here. That's really good. A really express crossing. I'm even afraid to mess with it. I'm actually scared to keep messing with tunnels in this game because it crashes so easily. Well, let me see where I'm going to put this. I'll have to remove this bike depot here. To work in this area, here, this will be a street with 2 lanes, right? I think I'll even use this path to create a division in this segment to upgrade this segment here to a street, right? Because here is where that tunnel will arrive, and here I already start to draw the tunnel. Yeah, I pull it from here to here in a curve. It's going to be kind of close to the water. Maybe I'll even make a small embankment here just so we don't have this kind of problem, right? Then here I put this one. Road here, underground again. Okay, then here. There's not much to do, right? Just run this connection all the way to the other side. Let's see if it doesn't bug, right? I have anarchy turned off. Let's see. I can do it here. Look, following this one. Drawing the street above, right? Look, I've already arrived here at the observation tower part. Then I'll come here, parallel to this other street. And here I can already make a turn from here to there. So, look, cutting through the battle down here. And the entrance here to the city. Of course, I'll have to fix some details here. Here, look, I put the wall protection, this path.
Vou estender ele.
There's no way. I'll have to leave the reclaimed land here. Look, really nice to also leave a ramp here coming out practically from inside the water. Right? The work is complex, but Barbosa delivers, man. Guys, I'm really happy this worked out, see? The crazy idea, and it didn't turn out bad. I mean, I think it didn't turn out bad, but you guys will give me your opinion. Just don't say it's unrealistic, because this kind of...
Acontece, viu? Cara, aqui tem cara de que teria uma pista de skate. Aqui eu não vou conseguir colocar, mas se eu desligar esse aderir aqui, eu consigo colocar ela mais livremente aqui, ó. Tá vendo? Beleza. Aí por último é só brincadeirinha.
My project, just here, the details. Look, the guys are already using it here. They're already coming through here. I don't want to. I don't want this to become the main entrance to the island, man. It's not supposed to get congested. It's not supposed to be an alternative, right? Look at me saying this, right? The person who criticizes adding new roads for cars the most. After all. Traffic jam anyway. But anyway, it's more for the challenge here for the fun of it, right? Also, we're not proposing this to be an example city, right? So, guys, lastly, just to wrap up the episode nicely, I'm going to make the sand surface here so we already have a nice view of this new beach, right? No one would even imagine there's a tunnel down here, creating some paths too, right, from the shore to the boardwalk. The day we get a beach DLC, I'll be a happy guy. Adding the landscaping here real quick. Linear garden, almost like a mangrove, right? I'm going to put some small plazas here to act as kiosks. All right, guys, it's done here, right? Our last beach here on the island. With the tower, with the port, with the park, the subdivision. Man, this episode was long. And with a new way into the city. Long episode, but very productive, all right? Many people are arriving. I'm getting...
Assustado, né? Vamos ver como é que a galera tá usando essa passagem, ó. Eles estão pegando o atalho aqui. A galera também... Até o transporte público já tá utilizando aqui o novo...
Scared, but that's it. Lastly, here for those of you who stuck around, look. I put this square here, okay? It's the business square. We had this space here free, right? It's a very important place here in the city. There's a monument here on the side, a signature building. I ended up putting this square here. Look, put it. Exactly, right? And in the spaces that were left here, I put trees. So it turned out to be a really nice fill. It's a really beautiful square, man. It fits really well too. I forgot to show it, but I'm showing it here now for you. I need suggestions on what to do in this space, but the waterfront, it's all done from end to end. I'm going to add the details here, like umbrellas on this beach, but for the next episode, right? Barbosa has already worked a lot here today. There aren't that many vehicles piling up, right? So it's okay. And look, from end to end, man, the city's waterfront is all done up. It's well taken care of, you see? Wow. And it's very diverse, right? Really diverse, man. And I really liked it, you know? What's your favorite stretch here? Even the last piece of land here. Look, the waterfront is detailed, right? Really, really cool. So I'm gonna say goodbye to...
Vocês, né? Por hoje, né? Nesse episódio. Então, um salve aqui nominal para os nossos vice-prefeitos, Giovanni Freitas, José Fernando, o Nagal e o Pedro Mendes. Muito obrigado por apoiarem aqui o canal e estarem vendo
you all
de forma antecipada com os nossos secretários.
a lot. Life. In the credits as a way of saying thank you.
Ser você também.
That is life. Creator of the channel, thank you very much. Yeah, you...
Trabalham aqui com Barbosa. Meu muito obrigado. Você que...
Yeah, you're a member, but you're here enjoying it, you're here commenting, is here, yeah. That a year-long sabbatical on the beaches, on the coast here in Barbacena, right? You are amazing. You are awesome. We're always in this together. A big hug and see you next time. See ya!